All right, let's just jump right in. I want to start with a single fact about the largest country on Earth that's, well, it's kind of mind-bending.
Now that sounds like a riddle, right? But it's not. It's the actual, real-life, daily reality for a nation so huge that day and night are happening at the very same moment, all inside its own borders.
So how is this even possible? Well, the answer comes down to one thing: Russia's geography. The country is just so incredibly vast that it needs a special system just to manage something as simple as daylight.
And when I say vast, I mean it. We're talking over 17 million square kilometers. To put that into perspective for you, that's almost double the size of the United States. It's this colossal landmass stretching all the way from Europe, across the entire continent of Asia, and out to the Pacific Ocean.
So think about it. That creates a massive logistical puzzle, right? How do you run, well, anything? Businesses, schools, transportation, when it's morning in one part of your country and evening in another? The answer is a really robust system of time zones.
All right, so let's actually take a little trip. We're going to do a virtual journey across all 11 of Russia's official time zones. We'll start way out on its western edge, near Europe, and travel all the way east to the Pacific coast.
Okay, here we go. Our trip kicks off in Kaliningrad, a little piece of Russia tucked away in Europe, and we start moving east. With every hour that passes, you're crossing these incredible landscapes. You go from Moscow, the political heart, then over the Ural Mountains, the very line that divides Europe and Asia, then deep into the Siberian wilderness around Lake Baikal, and you don't stop until you hit the volcanoes of Kamchatka right on the Pacific Ocean. That's 11 different time zones all lined up in a row.
And get this, to really wrap your head around the scale here, forget about comparing it to other countries for a second. Some of Russia's own regions are so big they need multiple time zones. The Sakha Republic, just one administrative region, is so massive it stretches across 3 of these time zones all by itself. It's wild.
Okay, let's really spell this out. Imagine this. When your alarm goes off at 8 a.m. in Kaliningrad and you're just starting your workday, on the very same day, in the very same country, it's already 6 p.m. in Kamchatka. Kids are getting home from school, people are making dinner. That is a 10-hour gap, happening every single day, all within one nation's borders.
So you have to ask, why did they create this system in the first place? It wasn't always this neat and tidy. Let's rewind a bit and look at the history of how Russia actually managed to tame time. You know, before they standardized everything, every single city just set its clocks by the sun. Which, hey, worked fine if you never left your town. But then came the Trans-Siberian Railway, and suddenly it was a total logistical nightmare. Can you imagine trying to print a train schedule when every single station along the way has a slightly different time? It was absolute chaos. So to fix this mess, Russia officially adopted the 11-zone system, way back in the early 20th century. But here's a fun fact. They actually tinkered with it pretty recently. In 2011, the government thought, hey, let's simplify this, and they cut the number of zones down to 9. The problem was, people found their daily lives were suddenly all out of whack with the sun, so it didn't last long. By 2014, they switched right back to the original 11.
And when they went back to 11 zones, they made another huge change. They completely ditched daylight saving time. Yep, no more spring forward, fall back. The clocks stay put on permanent standard time all year round, which just helps keep daily life a bit more in sync with the actual sun.
Okay, so we know the what and the why, but what about the how? How does this whole system actually affect the daily lives of millions of people? How does a nation that's basically in constant motion keep itself coordinated?
Well, the challenges are pretty huge, as you can imagine. For businesses, think about it. If your office in Moscow wants to call a branch in Vladivostok, you've got this tiny little window where both offices are actually open. For the government, any kind of national announcement requires constant time conversion. And for airlines, oh man, scheduling flights across the country is just a mind-bogglingly complex puzzle. So how do they deal with all this? Well, they have some pretty smart solutions. The railway system is probably the most famous one. To stop travelers from getting totally confused as they cross all these time zones, every single train ticket and schedule in the entire country is printed in one time, and one time only, Moscow time. It's a beautifully simple, elegant fix for a gigantic logistical headache.
And that brings us to what makes Russia truly unique in this whole time zone game. Now, you might hear that France technically has more time zones, but that's because of its overseas territories scattered around the globe. Russia is the only country in the world with 11 contiguous land-based time zones. That means they're all connected, right next to each other, on one solid piece of land. So when you boil it all down, These 11 time zones aren't just some random piece of trivia. They're a direct reflection of Russia's incredible scale. They're the solution born out of the sheer challenge of uniting a territory that stretches across 2 entire continents.
If you think that's mind-blowing, subscribe for more facts that change how you see the